I'm thrilled to be joined by Nigel Farage. Nigel, after the local elections, you said that the wipeout of UKIP didn't matter because you transformed the country, because you secured that Brexit vote. Not exactly loyal, though, to Paul Nuttall, your successor, was that?
No, I mean, Paul himself said we were victims of our own success. I mean, you know, I led the party 4 years ago in those county council elections in England on a manifesto. We're bringing back grammar schools, getting Britain outside the European Union, controlling immigration and helping small businesses. And 4 years on, the British Prime Minister was running on exactly the same ticket and swept the board. So UKIP
you got 4 million votes in 2015. What are you going to get this time?
That depends. I mean, when she launched this campaign, and she said, look, trust me, I will deliver Brexit, but if I don't win, we will have this coalition of chaos that will effectively stop Brexit from happening. The number of UKIP supporters that contacted me and said, you know what, Nigel, this time we have to support Theresa May. Now, fast forward a couple of weeks, when people realise, actually, this election's a non-contest, that she's going to win by a country mile anyway, then I think the squeeze that you tend to see on small parties towards the end of a campaign, in this case, will be the other way around.
Can UKIP survive, though, if it gets wiped out in the general election?
Oh, UKIP's going to survive. It has to survive.
How?
I mean, well, it's rather like, you know, we all pay the house insurance every year, not because we want there to be a fire, but just in case there is one. And I think it's all well and good for Mrs May, who gives wonderful speeches and sounds very reassuring. But the truth of it is, as Home Secretary, she did the same thing on immigration and other issues and didn't deliver. And UKIP needs to be there in case there is backsliding on Brexit.
I mean, your chum Aaron Banks seems to think it's over for UKIP and is setting up this patriotic alliance. What's all that about?
I don't really know. I mean,
you're not going to get involved. Are you not going to get involved? You're not going to get involved in the patriotic alliance.
No. I mean, I'm happy for there to be political movements that campaign for things. UKIP.
It's not an alternative to UKIP, as far as you can see.
No, and it wouldn't be. I mean, if in 2.5 years' time, Mrs May has delivered the kind of Brexit that voters wanted, then I think you can ask the question: what is UKIP's future? Where does it go from here? But right now. Are
you a supporter of Theresa May?
I don't tend to support Remain voters. I don't tend to support people
But
who
isn't she delivering
failed.
the vision that you want?
Well, listen, she is using exactly the same words and phrases that I've been using for 20 years.
I mean, you must have loved it when she laid into Jean-Claude Juncker, didn't you?
I thought bashing Brussels bureaucrats was purely my domain. So, no, of course...
So you cheered at that point?
It all looks and sounds fantastic. But, as I say, you know, we've got a career politician here whose record of delivery in the past has been very poor. So let's see.
Is Nuttall doing a good job?
I thought the way that he came out yesterday after what had been a really very tough 24 hours was strong and reassuring. Look, it's difficult for him. It's difficult because the Conservative Party have taken our agenda for now. It's also difficult because when you follow on from somebody, you know, and I was a dominant, or my critics would say domineering leader of UKIP, it's always difficult to step into somebody else's shoes. He's doing fine. When
you look back on your time, some would say you did not do enough to turn UKIP into a multi-issue rather than single-issue party. Oh, no, I think we did. And I've mentioned already, you know, we led the charge for selective education for grammar schools. We made the big arguments against onshore wind farms, which I think to some extent have now been stopped. I mean, your chum Douglas Carswell today says that after he won, you immediately took the party back onto immigration when you should have been talking about other issues. He's trying to rewrite history and, you know, I'm afraid he's shown himself to be a rather untrustworthy figure, which is why the Conservatives wouldn't have him back for the election. Now, we've also got another election just on the other side of the channel. And Anushka, I think you've got one or two interesting things to say about that.
That's right, Robert. Well, Nigel Farage is, as we know, rather close to Donald Trump, the very outspoken US president who has had a thing or two to say about some controversial world leaders. Here are some of his comments. The North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, is a pretty smart cookie, according to Donald Trump. The Turkish president, well, he gives him great credit. El-Sisi in Egypt has done a fantastic job. Vladimir Putin, a better leader than Obama. And Duterte, the controversial Philippines leader who once boasted about throwing a man from a helicopter. They had a very friendly conversation. Well, there is another controversial political leader in the news today, the French presidential hopeful Marine Le Pen, and in the absence of Donald Trump. I wonder if Nigel could sum her up in 3 words.
3 words on Marine Le Pen.
She's the real deal. She is a proper, genuine Eurosceptic, and under her, the French National Front is not about race, But it is about sovereignty.
Because I remember talking to you about Marine Le Pen only a couple of years ago. And I said, why aren't you sitting with her in the European Parliament? And you said you couldn't because there were, in your words, proper races in her party.
For 18 years, I have absolutely refused to sit with the French National Front. I still think that its roots are deep back in Vichy and anti-Semitism and all sorts of things. To be fair to her, she has got rid of her father. She's got rid of...
So you trust Marine Le Pen, do you?
She's got rid of many of the extreme elements. Do I think Marine Le Pen herself is an extremist? No, I don't. I absolutely don't. She stood down as president of the party to fight this presidential campaign. She's linked up with the conservative Eurosceptic Nicolas Dupont-Aignan, who's been my real French ally over the last 10 years. And not only would she be better for France than Macron, but better for Brexit Britain.
Is she going to win?
Marine Le Pen, I do believe, will become the French president.
But
however,
today?
I suspect it's more likely that'll happen in 2022 than today.
Now, the other thing you rather strikingly said to me about Marine Le Pen is she could drink you under the table.
That was true, but she's cleaned her act up
Oh,
since.
has she?
She has, and she's lost weight, and she's looking pretty fit. But there was a time when that was true.
And what's next for you?
For me, well, I'm going to continue. I chose not to stand in this general election. The real Brexit action is not going to be in Westminster. It's going to be in the European Parliament. It's going to be with the Junckers of this world and everybody else. So I'm going to go on leading a group in the European Parliament.
And so, just to be clear, you're not turning your back on politics?
No, absolutely not. No, I think as far as the delivery of Brexit is concerned, there's far more action in Brussels than Westminster over the next 2 years.
So you'll continue to draw those generous Brussels expenses until they're no more?
Well, I shall continue bashing Brussels bureaucrats, but obviously with Mrs May, I've now got some real competition.
Nigel Farage, many